Hello guys and welcome to my new video. Today we'll talk about how can you build any deck without looking at deck lists, and how can you adjust any deck to be by your preference. So let's begin. For first thing I want to be talking about is decor. So for this video I'll use Sky Strikers as example. So decors are mostly sold, which means there aren't many places to change stuff. Like they're most likely standard. So for example, Sky Strikers, you run 3 Rai, 1 Rose, 2 engages, 3 linkage, 3 Widow Anchor, and stuff. Like it's not optimal to run, for example, 2 Widow Anchor or 1 engage or none. So yeah, when you finish that part, I mean, you can look up for decors because, as I said, they're standard and they don't change much over time. But next thing you want to look at is which cards are like in every deck, which card cannot be like not used in any deck. So for example, this format that is Maxi, of course Maxi is crazy. You have to run Maxi in almost every deck, so you have to put 3 Maxi. But if you know that Maxi is used in every deck, you know that you will face Maxi and that you have to play counters for it, of course. So you run 3 Ash Blossom, 2 Called by the Grave, and you can run Crossout Designator if you want. So this is so-called mini game, like if you will resolve Maxi or if will your opponent resolve Maxi. And next, you wanna think like do you want to actually play board breakers or hand traps? Like, is your deck capable of running many hand traps? So if your deck can run like 9 to 11 hand traps, you will most likely go with hand traps. You will run most efficient hand traps to stop your opponent from playing, or you want to go with board breakers. This format, board breakers are marginally better than hand traps because trading 1-for-1 isn't very good. Like this format with sprites, like they will always have red to, for example, negate your effect veiler. So you want to break already established boards, which means that this format hand trap decks aren't necessarily very good, but you can build, for example, Sky Strikers like more towards more board breakers than hand traps. So for board breakers, you have to choose which cards will grant you most advantage, which cards are best to deal with boards that best decks produce. So for example, sprites have, I don't know, elf, red, blue and stuff. You can run lightning storm, for example. You can run evenly matched to equalize board state. You can run Forbidden Droplet, which is non-targeting negate, so you can negate their monsters. So yeah, you have to choose which staple cards are best in the current format, and build your deck around them. Next thing I want to talk about is can your deck run any pots? So pots are inherently very good for most parts. You have like Pot of Prosperity, which is currently limited. You have Pot of Extravagance, which is basically Pot of Greed for decks that don't care about their extra deck. You have Pot of Desires, and I want to talk about Pot of Desires in this video because this deck can run like multiple copies of every card. So you can run like 3 Widow Anchors, 3 Evenlys, 3 Linkage, 3 Ray, 2 Lightning Storm, 3 Droplet. So you don't care if you banish some of them, and it is also a spell card that benefits this deck. Like it's draw 2. If cards reads draw 2 and you see that your deck can run it, you should always play it. Like draw 2 is such a good effect, even if it says like banish 10 cards from top of your deck, which is like 1/4 of your deck. So if your deck can utilize any pot, you should run it. Like if you don't have any important one-offs and stuff, you always run that. Next, I will talk about the extra deck. So Sky Strikers have many cards that complement their specific archetype, like in extra deck. So you have, of course, Kagari, Shizuku, Hayate, um, Kaina, Zeke. So if you have like 4 or 5 spaces in extra deck, you want to use them as best as possible. So if you talk about Sky Strikers, of course you want to run Access Code OTK, which is like worse since Hulk got banned. So you can run Light Charmer and Dark Charmer and Celine. That's the reason why you run Valor. So that's another synergy. Like Valor isn't a good card, but it's a spellcaster that can be reborn of Celine, so you can go into the Access Code and win games faster. So yeah, you have to think about those things also when you build your own deck. Next thing is like generic stuff. What is generic stuff? Generic stuff is like Nightmare Unicorn, Nightmare Phoenix. I don't know if your deck can run a Link Spider and stuff. And you wanna find which cards are best generic cards. Like if you have space, like you have your Shizukus, you have your Zeeks, you have your Hayates. You want to actually find which card is best generic card, so you have space in deck, right? And if you have space for like one card, you have to decide, do you want Nightmare Phoenix or Nightmare Unicorn in your deck? So that means, do you run IP Masquerena, because Nightmare Unicorn is very good for if you can run IP Masquerena, or do you worry about backrow decks because Nightmare Phoenix can deal with backrow decks and stuff like that? So the main thing, like to summarize this video, the main thing you want to be thinking about is first decor, which are solved for the most decks. Like there aren't many places to maneuver with them. Next, do you want to run hand traps or board breakers, and which is better in current format? Which cards are like necessary in every deck, for example Maxi? And can your deck run any pots? Like, can your deck run any searchers, like generic searchers? For example, in this deck, Rota can search Ray and Rose because they are warriors. Which board breakers are best? If you run them, which board breakers will grant you most advantage if you use them? So you trade one card for like opponent's 5 or 6 cards. That's great value. And of course, in extra deck, which cards are necessary, like to have in current format? Like if your deck run many XYZ monsters, of course you want to run Zeus most of the time. You want to run Baguska if your deck can make rank 4. And yeah, that's about it. So thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.